Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah Media presents Step Out of the Illusion by Abdullah Hakim Quick.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah waliy salihin. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh khatam al-anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Allahumma salli wa sallam ala abdika wa rasulika Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ومن دعا بدعوته واستنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Amma ba'd. All praises are due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, and surely Allah is the friend and protector of the righteous. And I bear witness that Allah is one and has no partners, and that Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, is his servant and his last messenger. May Allah always and constantly send peace and blessings to Muhammad, to his family, to his companions, to all those who call to his way and establish his sunnah to the day of judgment. As to what follows, my beloved brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is again a great privilege to be with you here today in Melbourne and to be down under. And we are also down under on the other side of the world. And we have a unity between us. We have a similarity in climate. We have a similarity to a certain extent in our experiences. And the more you travel amongst Muslims, is the more you find the closeness that we have and not really the differences. That really differences amongst people are not the greatest issue, but there are more things that unite us and combine us than there are things that separate us. And so we pray that Allah Azza wa Jal would bless us and would unite our ranks, would give us that ability to have one saf, that we would be one united ummah following our beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Recently in the month of December, I had the opportunity to visit Malaysia, to visit Singapore, and to be with the Muslims in that part of the world. And I was pleasantly surprised to find when I went there to see faces of the people who I have lived with for the last 10 years in Cape Town. Cape Town is the home of the Cape Malays. And it is reported in the 17th century that the Dutch colonial forces brought political prisoners and slaves to the Cape. And they formed the first Muslim community in the southern hemisphere there in South Africa. And they had a trying experience because they came in bondage. And not only from Malaysia, from Java, but also from Sri Lanka, from East Africa, to make up this new community there in South Africa. And I was pleasantly surprised to see the faces. It was as though I was in Cape Town when I was seeing the faces of the people. But their experience was not the same. The people in the Cape had suffered. They were taken away from their homes. They were stripped from their ancestral lands. Their culture was taken away. They had to struggle just to maintain their faith. And it is reported that there were people amongst the political prisoners and slaves in the Cape who would get up in the middle of the night in chains and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He would bless them to maintain their faith and to pass it on to the generations who would come after them. This was really important to me because my people as well in the Americas were taken as political prisoners, as slaves from the western coast of Africa and came into the Americas, and now we have documented proof that over 30% of the political prisoners and slaves who were taken into the Americas were Muslims. We have documented evidence of ulama, of scholars who were taken in chains, who maintained their faith. And now books are coming out, whole copies of the Quran written from memory by the slaves, discussions of the ulama, the Risala of Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani, the great Maliki faqih, written from the memory of a person in bondage, and a discussion about this, how this affected him in his condition of bondage. Also, in the island of Jamaica, they found a document that is called al-Wathiqa. And this Wathiqa called the slaves to revolt, that they should stand up against the colonial forces, they should throw off the chains, and now it is being connected to a document written by a great scholar in West Africa, Sheikh Uthman Danfodio Rahimahullah, who wrote Wathiqa ila Ahl Sudan, who wrote this, his famous document, which was their, it was the call to struggle for the people of the Sudan, meaning not only present Sudan, but also West Africa as well. And so they resisted. They resisted on the shore. They resisted in the ocean, the Middle Passage. They resisted in the Americas. Slave revolts are documented in Suriname, South America, in Jamaica, in Haiti, and you'll be surprised to know with the recent Haitian crisis that went on with the earthquake, that the revolt of Toussaint Louverture there in Haiti, it was begun by Muslims. Macandal, bookmen, these were great, what they call marabout, murabits, who came from West Africa. They were scholars, and they led successful revolts, organized the people, and then Toussaint Louverture came along with the skills of a general, and he was able to unite the whole of the island, and they threw off the French, and it was the first successful rebellion against colonial rule in the Americas. And they suffered up until today, and that is part of the reason why when the earthquake struck, that the sanctions that had been applied to them, they were not able to resist. Their houses fell down. And I want to read to you a document that has been unearthed. This is a document from the 19th century, written by a scholar of Islam in the West Indies, in Jamaica, a person who is in slavery. And this is something that Muslims did not know about. We take our religion for granted. We feel that because we're blessed, our families have the deen, we think it'll always be with us. We think that because we come from a certain group, it'll always stay. But this is the words of a person by the name of Abu Bakr Siddiq. And he writes, "My name is Abu Bakr Siddiq, born in Timbuktu, which is a great center of knowledge, and brought up in Janneh. I acquired the knowledge of the Quran in the town of Guna, in which there are many teachers for young people. My father's name is Kara Musa Sharif. Some of Guni's people were obliged to fly to Kong, and on that very day they made me captive. As soon as I was made prisoner, they stripped me and tied me with a cord, and gave me a heavy load to carry, and led me into the country of Bunduku, from thence to the town of Kumasi, where the Ashanti reigned." Then it goes on. It said, there they sold me to the Christians in that town. We were 3 months at sea before we arrived in Jamaica, which was the beginning of bondage. I have none to thank but those that brought me here, but praise be to Allah who has everything in his power to do as he thinks good. And no man can remove whatever burden he chooses to put on us. As he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing shall fall on us except what he shall ordain. He is our Lord, and let all that believe in him put their trust in him. My parents' religion is Islam. They are all circumcised, and their devotions are 5 times a day. They fast in the month of Ramadan. They give tribute according to the law. They can marry up to 4 wives, but the 5th is an abomination to them. They fight for their religion, and they travel to the Hijaz. They don't eat any meat except what they themselves kill. They do not drink wine nor spirits, as it is held an abomination to do so. They do not associate with any worship. They do not associate partners with God, or worship idols, or profane the Lord's name, or do dishonor to their parents, or commit murder, or bear false witness, or are covetous, proud, or boastful. For such faults are abomination unto my religion. They are particularly careful. Now look what a person is saying now in slavery. He said they are particularly careful in the education of their children and in their behavior. But I am lost to all these advantages. Since my bondage, I am become corrupt. And I now conclude by begging the Almighty God to lead me into the path that is proper for me. For He alone knows the secrets of my heart and what I am in need of. Abu Bakr Siddiq, Kingston, Jamaica, September 20th, 1834. And so the pain of slavery, mother separated from father, language taken away. If you fasted in Ramadan, if they see you fasting, they will punish you. If you read the Quran, or if you speak Arabic, they will beat you to death in front of the other slaves. Because of this, a generation went by, and Islam was, for the most part, lost. And it was only just a memory. But the dua of these people who were suffering, praying for their children, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that now, decades later, hundreds of years later, Islam is the fastest growing religion still in this land. The children, the descendants of those who suffered are coming back into the faith. Now, what was different for me with the two experiences is that on one hand, the people in the West and the Americas lost the faith. And now they're returning. But the people in the Cape, although they suffered in slavery, apartheid, colonial oppression, they were able to keep their isnad. They kept their chain of knowledge right up until today. And the great scholars, Sheikh Yusuf from Makassar, great scholars developed madrasas, taught the Quran even though they were suffering. And through this, now in Cape Town, there are over 150 masjids. And one of the traditions that they had, something which they used to do after they finished reading their salat, they used to read certain verses. And I wondered about these verses, and it took me a period of time traveling and reflecting upon them to realize how deep it was that these verses they were reading, how important it was, and I think that we should reflect upon this ourselves. In Surah to Yunus, verses 62 and verse 63, the slaves, the political prisoners in bondage, they would constantly read these verses. It gave them strength. They turned to Allah Azza wa Jal. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Allah inna awliya Allah la khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun. Alladhina amanu wa kanu yattaqun. Lahumul bushra fil hayatid dunya wa fil akhirah. La tabdila li kalimatillah. Dhalika huwa al-fawz al-azim. These verses say, behold, verily on the friends of Allah there is no fear, nor shall they grieve. Those who believe and constantly guard against evil. For them there are glad tidings in the life of this world and in the hereafter. No change can there be in the words of Allah. And this is indeed the supreme triumph. So in these verses it tells us, Allah inna awliya Allah la khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun. And the scholars tell us that this now, it is dealing with the present and the future and the past. Just in this simple verse. When it says la khawfun alayhim, this refers to there is nothing for them to be afraid of now and in the future. If you are of the friends of Allah, there is nothing to fear. وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. And there's nothing to be sad about in the past.